Hello, this is Gaëtan, and in today's video we are going to discuss what we call core traumas and core beliefs, which are things we discovered as the Institute for the Study of Peak States. And we are going to talk about the most deeply buried traumas and negative beliefs that unconsciously rule our lives. So, if you watch a previous video on epigenetic and generational traumas, you know that traumas have an influence on our biology as well as our psychology. And this is very deep and really a problem in many situations. But did you know that your reality, what you think is reality, is actually hugely limited and filtered by these unconscious fundamental beliefs? And they are defining our worldview, and we are not aware of this. This is really unconscious. So today we are going very deep, right? So we discovered these fundamental core traumas, and we discovered that they are formed very early in our development. And just like generational traumas, they are inherited from our ancestors. And these core traumas are very special and peculiar. First, they are completely unconscious, and also they are almost impossible to detect by oneself alone. So that makes it very difficult because we're not aware of these core traumas and we cannot really access them. It's completely buried in our unconscious and we need somebody else to point them at us. They are emotionless, which is very counterintuitive because normally traumas are emotions, right? If you have a trauma, you might experience pain, fear, sadness, loneliness, helplessness, and so on. But when you are in a core trauma, you don't feel any emotion, and that makes them also pretty invisible. However, they do limit our vision of the world and ourselves. And this is in a very deep, fundamental way, which I'm going to explain later on. And they contain beliefs that seem very fundamental to reality. And that's something that is hard to get your head around because it seems like reality is something you can handle and you handle it in your own way. But your experience of reality is actually determined and blocked by these core traumas that we're not aware of. And they also generate thereafter all the negative beliefs and traumas. So because we have a core trauma, we will experience more traumas later on in life. Let me show you some examples. Generally, when you work on core traumas, the thing that people would say is, this is just the way it is. And this is just reality. It's just the way it is. And it's as if there is something quite blocked and limited and rigid and obvious also. This is just the way it is. And unfortunately, they are always negative. And very often, they deteriorate our self-esteem, sometimes very, very badly. And actually, they're very often the worst possible beliefs that we can have about ourselves or the world. So they limit and they condition the world in a very deep and very negative way. And very often they contain the feelings of being fundamentally flawed or bad or inferior or separated from love or separated from life or broken and unrepairable. So this sounds as bad as it is, it's actually even worse when you feel them. And they also generate a lot of suffering in our life without us realizing it. So let me give you a few examples. Core traumas are generally short phrases, short beliefs that we hold within ourselves without realizing it. And they're generally very bad, such as, I am worthless, I don't have any value. And sometimes like, I'm a piece of shit. I don't have any role in life. I don't have any place. I should not be here. I'm worthless. Or things like, I am fundamentally alone. I am alone in the world. That's just how it is. That's just reality. I am alone and I will always be alone. Or I am separated from life. It feels like life is happening, but I don't feel so alive. And I feel like I'm separated from the joy of life. And I don't know how to explain it because this is a deep, unconscious feeling. Or very often people would have things like, I am a bad person, or I am evil. And so, of course, if you have that belief in yourself, you would limit your experience of life and reality, right? Because if you believe deep within yourself that you are a bad person, then you don't deserve to have a happy life, right? You feel guilty about it. And this can be so deeply buried and unconscious that you don't realize it, and you actually think, I'm a good person. You know, I'm fine, I'm kind, I'm gentle, I help other people, I'm a good person. But you might feel that at a deeper level, you think that you don't deserve to be completely happy and completely well. And if you dig deeper, you might encounter something like this. Or, I can't be loved. Whatever I do in life, I will not feel loved. I will not have what I need. Or, I cannot live really. It feels like part of me is kind of dead or not alive. So I'm trying to handle life, to be joyful, to appreciate life, but there is something that is wrong and that's not working well, and I can explain it. And this is really stuff that is unconscious, and everybody has these core traumas. Maybe not these ones, but something similar. Everybody has several core traumas, and they're totally unconscious. So you can understand how they ruin our life because they really limit our experience. Now, let me explain what is the difference between these core fundamental beliefs and general beliefs. So, if you've been doing therapy or personal development for some time, you might understand that we have beliefs, and sometimes the beliefs we have are limiting. But generally, you would be working on general beliefs. So, for example, you might feel within yourself, people always abandon me. That's just the way it is. People abandon me. I will be abandoned later on in life, and I'm afraid to go into relationships, or when I am in a relationship, I never feel really secure because I believe people will always abandon me. So that's obviously a very negative belief to have, and it's based on traumas, of course. But this is still pretty general and pretty on the surface. A fundamental belief, a core trauma, would be something much more fundamental and total. Something like, I am not worthy of love, in a total way. Like, this is total, this is unconditional, this is always the case. So the feeling is really fundamental. Fundamentally, totally, I am not worthy of love. And I don't feel any emotion, but this creates different problems afterward. Or you can be working on beliefs like, life is hard. And yeah, life is hard, I have to struggle and so on. And you might be working on this level, but at a deeper level, you can have a belief like, life is fundamentally painful. Like, it's not possible that life is not painful. This is just the way it is. Life is fundamentally, totally painful, and there's no way around it. It's always like that. This is a fundamental quality of life. So you can see how you are going much deeper on this level. Or for example, I cannot reach my goal, and this is still a pretty shallow belief, even if it can be really impacting on life in a negative way. And you can have fundamental beliefs such as, I am fundamentally not able. Not able in the sense not able to live or not able to grow. So it's something fundamentally flawed that makes me unable, incapacitated. Or to love is to suffer. And if you dig deeper on this, to love is to suffer is something that is related to biographical events. You love somebody and that somebody hurt you or left you, abandoned you, or something bad happened, which created the belief to love is to suffer. If I love somebody, I will necessarily suffer. Well, this is a very hard belief, and I understand the suffering behind it. But this is something pretty biographical. Now, at a deeper level, you can have a belief that I am isolated from life, with a big L. I am isolated, I am separated from life. And because of that, of course, I will suffer. of course, I will never be satisfied. I will never feel really alive or loved, right? Or I am not good enough because I failed at something, I am not up to the task, I cannot do what I should be doing, and this is linked to biographical events. But you can have a very much deeper fundamental belief, such as I am not enough, in a fundamental way, like it's total, it's forever, it's fundamental, this is it, I am not enough, I am not good enough, or enough this or that. This is just the way it is, at a fundamental level. So you get the point. These general beliefs are linked to specific events in our lives, while these fundamental beliefs feel like it's total, it's always the case, all the time for everybody, and this is just reality, right? So losing someone you loved is hard, and actually I feel I have no strength. I feel weak, I feel like something in me is just will always be like this. Or I feel guilty, I cannot forgive myself, and I am inherently bad. I am fundamentally bad. This is who I am at the core, right? So, very fundamental core beliefs here. So, the way it works is that there is always a logical chain between our life circumstances and the belief that we have. So, when something is not working in our life or we suffer, generally there is a negative belief behind this. But this belief holds behind himself another belief. And there is another belief. And there are deeper and deeper layers of this. For example, I failed and I will fail again. I'm afraid of failing, for example. And because I'm afraid of failing, I think that I have failed. And actually behind it there is, I am not capable. I don't have the capacity to have success. And behind it, if you dig deeper, why is this the case? Well, because I am negative. There is something negative about me. And because this is negative, and this is there, and this is me, I'm not able to do things, and so I will fail. So why is it the case? Why are you negative? Well, there might be a deeper layer, and it can be anything, but for example, I don't believe in myself. I don't believe that I can do what I should be doing in life. And so because I don't believe it, I'm negative. I feel guilty, I am hard with myself, and then I'm not able to do things and so on. But then if you dig deeper, why is this the case? Why you don't believe in yourself? Well, there is a deeper belief like, I will never achieve anything. Okay? Why is this the case? Why is it that is even more fundamental? And that can be something like, I am fundamentally limited. I don't really know why, but this is just the way it is. I feel like I am fundamentally limited. And actually, you can go even deeper and find a deeper layer. For example, something that is, I am empty. And because there is this emptiness, this void, I am limited, fundamentally. And because I'm limited, I know that I will never achieve the things I want to achieve, and so I don't believe in myself, and so I'm negative, and so on. So there is a logical chain of belief that leads to very fundamental, very deeply buried beliefs. And you can see that there is a long way between I failed and I am empty. Like, if you just focus on this level, you will not be aware that there is a fundamental belief such as I am fundamentally empty. This is totally out of our consciousness. So we need a method to go backward to the most fundamental one. Now, another characteristic of these core beliefs is they are not located in our body, such as negative emotions normally, but they are actually located inside the spine. So it's very peculiar because you feel in your spine that there is a spot, and in that spot there is something fundamentally negative, limiting, and painful. And there is no emotion really, there's just a feeling that this is the way it is. Like, I am bad, or I am separated, or things like that. So they are in the spine. And while you cannot really see clearly on this image, but if you watch a previous video on generational traumas, you know that generational traumas are stuck messenger RNA strings on the nuclear membrane of the cell. And there are damaged histones, which are epigenetic damages at every trauma. But actually what we discovered is that these traumas can be chained, and so it's as if there is another string here that goes to a core trauma. So what happens when we actually heal a core trauma is that all these traumas will disappear. They will not exist anymore. Everything will dissolve. So that means that one core trauma is linked to several biographical, generational, and associational traumas. And this is obviously very powerful, because healing one core trauma automatically heals several other traumas. So what happens when you heal a core trauma? Well, first, several other traumas disappear painlessly, and we perceive a fundamental change in our self and in our reality. Sometimes it's almost as if reality changed. For example, I remember once I had a trauma which was saying, I am alone and I will always be alone. And because of this trauma, I felt separated from other people, and I felt like this would always be the case. We're just alone in life, and we need to deal with life on our own. And when I hear this, suddenly things changed, and I felt much more connected to people. And this was not true anymore, that we are alone in life. Actually, it was the opposite, like we are interconnected and we are linked within each other. So obviously, my quality of life improved, right? So fundamentally, the reality or our self can change. And the reality or ourself seems bigger or richer or more alive and with more possibilities. So what are the advantages? Well, first, it automatically heals other traumas painlessly. So that's a major advantage. And you understand why if you watch the video on generational traumas. We don't have to target the worst events of your life to heal them. We can access them indirectly and heal a core trauma and heal several traumas painlessly. And it also goes even deeper, because not only do you feel a relief, like, I feel better, but you also feel a growing of your abilities, like, suddenly I feel like I can do things much more. Things are much more open. And it also allows us to avoid reliving intense traumas, and it's fast, and the technique we designed generally works within 2 to 20 minutes. Well, the first time it's more like 20 minutes, and the more you do it, the faster it gets. But still, 20 minutes is a very short time to heal these fundamental flaws that we have. And they also have advantages in personal development, because you can experience within just one session an evolution that most people will actually never experience in their life. And also it can eliminate major deep blockages to your evolution that are really hard to detect and access. So if you are in a process of evolution, if you're doing therapy or you're doing personal development or things like that, you can really have a major change with work on core trauma. Now, there are some disadvantages. The first one is that they are impossible to detect by oneself alone. And no matter how hard you try, you will not access them. This is just the way it is, because you see, maybe there's a core trauma behind that, but we all have these core traumas. And we all have this invisible flow, and that seems so fundamental and so true, like reality is just the way it is, that we cannot really access them. It's hard to access, and we need somebody else to guide us. So also, if you are working with somebody and you have the same core trauma yourself, you are not going to allow them to feel their core trauma and to find it, and there is going to be resistance. So if you're a therapist, for example, you need to clean your own core traumas in order to be able to help other people at this level. So it requires a highly skilled and trained therapist who himself healed a lot of his own core traumas. Now, why should we treat them? Well, if you find your reality to be limited, or you experience a lot of suffering in your life, it's a good reason to do it. And if you want to live an extraordinary life and improve your internal quality of life, it's a good reason. and also if you want to eliminate the suffering in your life at a fundamental level. So what can we expect from treating core traumas? Well, first, it's very efficient to treat a psychological, emotional, or relational problem, and it's an excellent alternative or complement to treating generational traumas. Unfortunately, it does not allow to treat severe physical or mental issues, and that requires another form of treatment, which we are doing research on with subcellular psychobiology. So here I'm thinking of issues such as schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, depression, addiction, and so on. So if you want to experience a quantic jump in your life and your personal evolution, and you could not find a solution to your problem despite several visits to a therapist, or you feel a fundamental limit within yourself, you feel stuck and you don't know where to look at, or simply if you have a lot of suffering, then you should contact one of our Peak States therapists. So thank you for watching. If you have any question or comment, feel free to send them to me, and I'm looking forward to hearing back from you. Thank you and have a good day.